one of the best and beloved singers and actors in the world, being one of the first singers to pioneer easy listening music genre with other musicians of his time, and even making this kind of music genre implemented around the world. Working with great stars and musicians in his era, and becoming one of the part of one of the best musical groups in the world, the Rat Pack. He was a best-selling musician, great actor, and even the worldwide entertainer of all time. Best worldwide entertainer of all time. Spending time with politicians, movie stars, musicians, and even people that made him a living legend. Once a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and even a king. This is Frank Sinatra, and this is his basic biography. Frank Sinatra was born on the 12th of December 1915 in New Jersey, USA. His parents moved to the United States from Italy and would move into the town of Hoboken. When growing up, he would have some issues with his health and even affecting him during his early life. His father was a fireman and would help the local fire department, whilst his mother was a singer in various nightclubs and even theatres in the area. He sometimes attended school and even was expelled from school based on being rebelling against their rules and being rebellious in general at a young age. Once he was kicked out of school, he would be making a name of himself in music by singing and even becoming a musician during his early years, spending time in nightclubs and sometimes performing on stage during the 1930s. The Great Depression would have his father continuing working in the fire department and being promoted to captain. His mother would endorse her son, Frank Sinatra, by helping him perform in more um, clubs in Hoboken and even in performing two people in around the Hoboken area. Then working with bands and musicians who were big at the time. Sometimes his parents would help out the local community based on being part of the Catholic Church, and even being Catholics themselves. He even helped. They even helped various political events, and even performing at local events for these candidates who were going to be government officials at the time. Musical career. In the 1930s, he would spend time working as a stage performer and even a musician based on his singing skills and even playing instruments. He was inspired by the great Bing Crosby, who was one of the best singers and even helped jazz music genre becoming used in mainstream media rather than being still played in nightclubs or underground venues. Whilst performing in many productions and even various bands to various bands, Frank Sinatra would join a group such that that would be used in Hoboken and was formed in Hoboken, called the Hoboken Four, in the mid 1930s, where he was a teenager in a group with young performers singing and even dancing with them, incorporating new sounds in which no one in the area knew or even heard before. With the new group, he would tour around the country and would even win many competitions based on his success, then working on radio productions for being one of the newest musical groups in the United States. Later on, he became a lead singer for the band and worked with various radio stations again, with his singing voice being used in one of the best and being classed as one of the best in the business. The group would tour again and even make themselves known more in the jazz genre, and having a chance of working with new orchestras around New York City. He managed to sing and even take the world by a storm due to his voice and connections with people in the music industry. This great music career, based on his style and charisma, was great for the best and even the legendary Frank Sinatra. He left the group in the 1940s. This meant he had to go on his own and had to become a solo artist with his own solo career. That now made him a superstar in the music industry. He would help the United States during the Second World War by performing in songs to working as an actor, but not able to take any action or fight in the war. Whilst helping out the armed forces in the war during the war efforts, he would work with the USO instead of becoming a soldier. He would perform for the army, then touring with them in Europe with the USO in tow, working with Bing Crosby, who were both icons at the time. Once the war was over, he managed to get himself his first record and was able to sign a contract before joining the war in 1943, but then releasing this album in 1946, just after the war. This album was called The Voice of Frank Sinatra. He spent time being an actor whilst being a musician. The first performance of his silver screen career was in the movie Step Lively in 1944, where he was the lead actor and only starring with in supporting actors as a supporting actor just before the war. Singer and a movie star. Frank Sinatra was a young and talented singer during the 1930s and the 1940s. He worked hard as an Italian American and had been able to work with many talented individuals to bands around the United States. He starred in his first movie in the mid 1940s, linked to his stardom as a great singer, but he managed to work with many talented people in both music and the film industry. His next film was that he starred in was called It Happened in Brooklyn in 1947, and still leading again, with many people seeing post-war New York being a place where dreams can come true. He continued to act even at the end of the 1940s with the film On the Town in 1949. This film would have two legendary actors, himself and Gene Kelly, with the film being a musical. The 1950s would be the decade that made him untouchable, and even a legend that the world has never seen before, starring in movies that were iconic, such as Meet Danny Wilson in 1951, where he was playing a lead actor with the love interest character played by Shelley Winters in the film. Then starring in From Here to Eternity in 1953, co-starring with three legendary actors and actresses. These were Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and even Deborah Kerr, with the film being a post-war film and even winning at least 8 Academy Awards. Then starring in Guys and Dolls in 1955 with Marlon Brando, and he would continue to star in movies in various genres and still sing as a singer by releasing singles or albums around the world. The 1960s would be the decade where he would work with other legendary actors and even stars in the United States. He joined the group Rat Pack in this particular decade and would work with other musicians or actors of the time, working with Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and even Joey Bishop during this decade, or in the decade overall, starring in movies with them as well, plus releasing albums and songs that have been remembered even in the modern era. Starring in movies together such as Ocean's 11, where Frank Sinatra played the character Danny Ocean, which had to rob a casino in Las Vegas with members of the Rat Pack in tow. Then starring in Robin and the Seven Hoods in 1964 with the same group of the Rat Pack. He would continue working with other stars of the time away from the Rat Pack, as well as producing and directing his own movies in Hollywood. Personal life and final years. Frank Sinatra would be married at least 4 times in his life and had 3 children, who became actors and even great singers themselves in the United States. His first wife was Nancy Barbato from 1939 to 1951. Second wife was Ava Gardner, and their relationship lasted from 1951 to 1957. Third wife was Mia Farrow, with their relationship lasting from 1966 to 1968. His final wife was Barbara Marx from 1967 to his death in 1998. That's how long the relationship lasted for. And two, his He was a great actor and singer that was adored around the world, singing classic songs such as That's Life, New York, New York, and even Come Fly With Me, being part of his great song list and even great song collection. He won many awards as an actor and even won awards as a musician throughout his career. In the height of his fame, he would star on television series with members of the Rat Pack and appearing in hit television shows based on his stardom. Sometimes working with other musicians on television, such as Ella Fitzgerald to Elvis Presley, to name a few that had become legends as well. He had been active in politics, with him making himself part of the Democratic Party in the United States, with a chance to meet with many presidents and even endorsing their campaigns during the election periods. He would be working with presidents such as John F. Kennedy, Franklin Roosevelt, and even Ronald Reagan, to name a few. There have been many organizations that Frank Sinatra had supported during his career, and he helped many, um, and many companies had helped him by making him an activist or a patron to their causes. His last film appearance, whilst as a Hollywood actor, would be in the movie Young at Heart in 1995. Legacy and death. Sadly, Frank Sinatra passed away on the 14th of May 1998 at the age of 82 in LA, California, USA. He would pass away from a heart attack and would be having various health problems before his death. He worked with many people in his career and would perform in Las Vegas in his later life, and classed as one of the greatest male singers of all time. He was honored through the 20th century for many music awards, 2 Academy Awards in his movies. His own star was given on the Hollywood Walk of Fame before his death. His legacy would live on today, and he would be honored by many organizations around the world, having his name being used for many institutions and sometimes used in Las Vegas, where he was once performing in. There are many singers and actors that were able to be inspired by this great singer. Singers such as Michael Bublé, Robbie Williams, and even Josh Groban, to name a few. Whilst other actors, such as Ray Liotta and even Robert Nepper, were able to play Frank Sinatra in many movies and even been inspired by his movies themselves. There are movies made about Frank Sinatra and that are filmed today, and even being inspiring other singers and actors to do the same. There have been many remakes are based on his films and his performances, whilst his children were able to continue his legacy, even with other singers still singing his music in the same genre, and even making genres such as jazz music to easy listening music popular even till today. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't done so. My name is Suki Cookie, and please have a chance to look at my other content and even subscribe if you haven't done so. Thank you for watching.